Now on 8 News, an historic moment on Monument Avenue.
What do we want? Justice! When do we want it? Now!
Hundreds watched the Robert E. Lee statue come down.
It means change for the better. It means progress.
State and city leaders also on hand. The monument's been a Confederate symbol for more than 130 years.
I'm proud as the governor of Virginia to finally say Robert E. Lee statue is down.
8 News has live team coverage of the event and what happens next.
8 News starts now.
Well, after 130 years of towering over Richmond's Monument Avenue, the 21-foot tall statue of Confederate General Robert E. Lee was removed this morning.
Here are the moments as the statue was lifted from its pedestal. It was dropped to the ground, then cut into smaller pieces, eventually hauled away. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Juan Condi.
And I'm Deanna Albritton. A historic day here in Richmond as the Lee statue leaves Monument Avenue as it arrived in pieces. We have continuing team coverage tonight from Monument Avenue and around Richmond. We'll begin with 8 News reporter Alex Thorson, who's there on the scene live. Alex?
Yeah, well, after years of controversy, especially so within the last 16 months, Robert E. Lee no longer stands tall here on Monument, the 5th and final Confederate statue saying goodbye to this historic avenue.
Today, the statue of Confederate leader Robert E. Lee saying goodbye to its post of more than 130 years.
For me to see this taken down is so a tremendous amount of respect for this community, you know, and of all colors, you know what I'm saying?
This morning, crews arriving around 7:15, first wrapping a rope around Lee's base and using power tools to separate the statue from its pedestal. Just before 9, a crane hoisting the statue up and off. Born and raised in Richmond, Richard's son says driving down Monument Avenue will feel different, better going forward.
It's a sense of pride to know that it kind of makes you feel like people are listening.
Lee's torso eventually removed. Both pieces of the sculpture lifted onto a flatbed truck and carried away from its longtime home.
A long time coming. Feels like one step in the right direction.
Yeah, and really the biggest shock today as far as logistics go here is how quick crews were able to get the statue off of its pedestal. You think back to some of these other removals that we saw last summer, like Stonewall Jackson, for example. That took hours for just that part of that removal. Maybe a little bit of trial and error seen here today. For now, live in Richmond, I'm Alex Thorson, 8 News.
Hundreds flocked to Monument Avenue to watch that Lee statue being removed. 8 News reporter Talia Cunningham was there on the ground with them. She's live with the latest. Talia?
Hey Juan, good evening. A monumental moment here on Monument Avenue today after years of debate, countless hours of protest and lengthy legal battles. Well, it was nothing but tears of joy, laughter and praise and chants here as roughly 300 people flooded this public viewing area, which is now closed, all to see the statue come down.
What do we want? Justice! When do we want it? Now!
Chants and cheers as Richmond says goodbye to Confederate General Robert E. Lee, stirring up all kinds of emotions.
That's not our hero and never was.
Onlookers with phones in hand snapping pictures and recording videos as crews secure and lift the nearly 13-ton statue.
Excited, elated. I was ecstatic.
It's definitely a step in the right direction.
Folks traveled from across the state to witness history, but most we talked to were right here from RVA, who woke up early to see the action.
I've cried about this more than one time.
Susanna Holland, a VCU alum, choking up.
When the Lee statue came down, I found myself crying because of the impact of it.
She and her husband tell me today is the beginning of a new era.
It means change for the better. It means progress.
It was erected on the backs of black people.
After marching last summer, Reginald Carter can't believe he witnessed the moment.
and says it's a shift away from Black oppression.
Outer body experience, I would say, and I think for me it was a prophecy fulfilled.
And one towards inclusion for all.
It just represents some level of physical, representation of acceptance.
Yeah, and as you just heard, people telling me that same message today, now that the physical representation of Lee and the Confederacy is gone here on Monument Avenue, it's time to get to work, and things are just getting started. Now, coming up tonight at 6, we hear from Richmond Councilman, Mike Jones, who led his own charge to get the statues down and what he has to say about today's historic day. We're live in Richmond. Talia Cunningham, 8 News.
Thanks, Talia. While many cheered on the removal of the Lee statue, it has caused traffic troubles and parking frustration for those living in the fan. 8 News investigator Carrie O'Brien is live tonight with more on that. Carrie.
Well, Deanna, here along Park and North Allen Avenues, no parking signs went up over the weekend. Cars were supposed to be out of the area by 6 last night, but apparently not everyone took the warning seriously. 8 News spotted at least 6 tow trucks loading up and removing cars out from Park Avenue today. And after they made their first sweep, another round of tow trucks moved in for more. Police were also out ticketing drivers that ignored the no parking signs, while some residents were frustrated, telling us there's nowhere else to park in the fan. Others applauded the Lee statue's removal from its pedestal on Monument Avenue. Pastor David Wright of the Community Church of God in Christ called it a wonderful day. His church sits just 500 feet from the monument. He called the statue an altar of worship to the Confederacy and divisiveness.
And I really believe it's going to be well, it is. It's going to be a tremendous relief and release in terms of the oppressive spirit that's been here for a very, very long time.
Now, I will have more from the pastor coming up on 8 News at 6. In the meantime, those parking restrictions are in place until Saturday. Although we are hearing tonight they could be lifted earlier, but for the meantime, they will be in place at the very least through tomorrow. We are live in Richmond tonight. Carrie O'Brien, 8 News.
Thank you, Carrie. As you've seen, the statue removal went smoothly and almost without interruption, but security was tight just in case. 8 News anchor Eric Phillips is here in the studio tonight with that part of the story. Eric?
Juan, yesterday fencing was put up around the monument and barriers were placed on the streets in the surrounding area to deter any violence or unruly behavior. And it was largely successful. That is until this man managed to get behind the fencing and took off running. He was carrying a Black Lives Matter flag and you could hear people chanting "Power to the people" as he ran away. He was stopped by police and led out of the fenced-in area. Also, among the hundreds of people who showed up to watch history take place, there were a few verbal arguments that broke out, but none of them escalated. In fact, we've heard no reports of injury or arrest as a result of this morning's event, and hopefully that will be the same tomorrow as work there continues. Eric Phillips, 8 News. Juan, Indiana, back to you.
All righty, thank you, Eric. Still many questions tonight about what's going to be done with the statue's pieces.
8 News reporter Ben Dennis joins us live with what we know so far. Ben.
Well, Indiana, those pieces are key. The statue's gone, but essentially a question mark hangs over the pedestal now. We don't know where the Robert E. Lee figure will permanently end up, but I am told it will be temporarily housed just west of Richmond in Goochland at the Virginia Women's Correctional Center along Route 6. Here's some pieces to the puzzle here. The moment civil rights activists, Black Lives Matter protesters and demonstrators over the last year and a half in Richmond have been waiting for. The likeness of the Confederate general took its last ride along Monument Avenue this afternoon after being lifted from its pedestal this morning. Cut in two, quite literally. I'm told crews would take an hour-long commute to Goochland, to the women's prison there, housed away from the public eye. So what's next? Well, we're told a commission aligned with the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts, VMFA, will collect ideas along with group members and the public before deciding what to do with the statue. VMFA says this is going to likely happen within the upcoming year, possibly in 2022. It could end up in a museum, on a battlefield, on someone's private property. They're all ideas we've heard, but no decision has been announced. Those two nameplates on the side of the statue will also have to be considered. Plus, that suspected time capsule put inside the pedestal before the statue was unveiled in 1890. That is supposed to be removed tomorrow, we're told, and replaced with a new one, suggesting the pedestal will stay for now. John Mitchell tells us today's removal and the fate of the statue should be left to young people.
You've got to let the young people take a good look at things using the wisdom of the past and move forward. So when I see this, I see something that should have happened years ago that could have grown into something beautiful, and now we have to replant those seeds and now make them grow now.
And the governor's office says the old time capsule, if one is found, will be replaced with a new one in the exact same location. The old one, again, if it's discovered, will go to a state lab to be examined by historians. In Richmond, Ben Dennis, 8 News.
Alrighty, thank you, Ben. Thanks to all of our 8 News reporters today. We'll have continuing team coverage on the removal of the Robert E. Lee statue throughout the evening. Stay with us here on air and, of course, online at WRIC.com for the very latest.
8 News starts now with breaking news.
Casino shot in the neck, a suspect in the break room with a possible GSW to the head, and another patient in front of Walmart.
Chaos in Chesapeake. You're listening to the police scanner moments after a gunman opened fire at a Chesapeake Walmart last night, killing at least 6 people. Police say the suspected gunman is also dead. This is drone video from outside the store where it was an incredibly active scene all night long. Multiple witnesses inside the store say the gunman was a store manager. Good afternoon, I'm John Rogers.
And I'm Heather Hope. All morning long and now this afternoon, we've been gathering the latest details on this terrible tragedy right before Thanksgiving. 8 News reporter Rachel Keller is live in the Digital Center. And Rachel, what's the latest?
Good afternoon, Heather and John. According to Chesterfield or Chesapeake police, 6 victims are dead and the shooter has taken his own life. 4 people are in the hospital and their conditions are unknown at this time. Chesapeake Mayor Rick West saying their community is just shaken. Chesapeake authorities received the call reporting a shooting just after 10 last night at a Walmart Supercenter just off of Battlefield Boulevard. Reporters from our sister station there say the Walmart was open at the time and night shift workers had just checked in. Police entered the store and continued to find victims for about 30 to 45 minutes. Police Chief Mark Selesky says the gunman was an employee at the store and the shooter was found dead. They say the weapon used was a pistol and they believe the gunman shot himself. Chesapeake police received help from the city's fire department, Virginia State Police, Virginia Beach Police, the FBI, and the ATF. The scene was declared safe about an hour after police entered the store. The city's conference center is open for families involved to find each other. We're told a SWAT team has searched the shooter's home. Walmart employee Kevin Harper was in the store when the shooting began. He says the gunman was one of the team leads and worked overnight.
Well, I first heard the muffled shots probably about 3, 4, but after that, when I heard them hit the floor, that's when I didn't count. I just was more so, it's like everything just triggered to try to get out, try to survive, just hide.
The identity of the shooter has not been released because next of kin has not been notified yet. Police say there is no clear motive at this time. This investigation is ongoing and authorities will be processing the scene. We're told this could take days and the Walmart will be closed during that time. For now, in the Digital Center, Rachel Keller, 8 News.
Such an awful story. Rachel, thank you. And authorities are still trying to piece together exactly what happened.
They'll be doing that for a while. And earlier this morning, Governor Glenn Youngkin shared his reaction after yet another horrifying shooting in the state of Virginia.
Today, our job is to support families who are facing the unthinkable today. Families who have lost a loved one or have a loved one who is injured. And our job today is to come around them and support them.
Senator Mark Warner took to Twitter to say, quote, "I'm sickened by reports of yet another mass shooting, this time at a Walmart, Chesapeake. I'll be monitoring developments closely." And in the meantime, I urge all those in the community to listen to guidance from local law enforcement and stay away from the scene.
We also heard from State Senator Louise Lucas. She was on Twitter last night saying, "I am absolutely heartbroken that America's latest mass shooting took place in a Walmart in my district in Chesapeake. I will not rest until we find the solutions to end this gun violence epidemic in our country that has taken so many lives." State Representative Elaine Luria also chimed in, saying enough is enough, praying for the victims, their friends and colleagues, and the Chesapeake community. And we're going to continue to be looking for statements from other leaders as they continue to come in.
Governor Youngkin has ordered all flags to be lowered to half staff for 5 days following the Chesapeake Walmart mass shooting. The flags will remain lowered until sunset on Sunday.
Of course, folks, stay with us on air and online at WRIC.com as we continue to bring you the latest on this terrible tragedy in Chesapeake.
Tragic news to pass along this afternoon. We are hearing from our very own 8 News meteorologist about a horrific helicopter crash in Charlotte, North Carolina yesterday. 2 people were killed, including Jason Myers, a former meteorologist here at 8 News. All of us here at 8 News were shocked by this sudden news, including our very own Matt DiNardo. Matt worked closely with Jason Myers during his 7-year stint here at the station. He says Myers always had a smile on his face, was a family man, and was always a pleasure to work with.
He was the guy you wanted to work with, a strong member of our team, never brought a bad vibe into his work environment.
This vehicle crash
And of course, at the timing of the shooting, all of this just days before the holidays makes it even more sobering. We'll be sure to pass on any information we learn as the investigation into the crash continues.
Switching gears now, Henrico police, they need your help to find 2 robbery suspects. They say the man and woman on your screen walked into a convenience store on West Broad Street with a gun and demanded money before running away. If you have any information, please call Henrico police. And happening now, drivers have something to be thankful for this holiday. Gas prices across Virginia have dropped significantly in the past several weeks. 8 News reporter Allie Barefoot is in Richmond with more on how much you could save.
The past week alone, gas prices have lowered 7 cents in Virginia, and in Richmond, it's down 8 cents a gallon. According to AAA, the national average hit a peak of nearly $5 in June. Now that's all in the past because the national average is $3.66. The biggest drop in gas prices we've seen in the past week is in Norfolk, as gas is down 12 cents in the Tidewater region. The reason for this drop around the holidays is that an economic recession could be on the horizon, which would decrease demand for gasoline. We may have to temper with your excitement just a little bit. While these lower gas prices are fantastic, AAA is saying that we are still 20 cents higher than we were this time last year on the holiday season. But regardless, please wear your seatbelt, drive safe, and stay with 8 News as we will be tracking gas prices throughout the holidays. Reporting in Richmond, Allie Barefoot, 8 News.
Breaking news, tragedy in Texas after a gunman opens fire inside an elementary school.
It's so hard that you send your kids to school and thinking they're going to make it back home, and they're not.
2 adults and 19 children killed in a matter of minutes, leaving a small town in shock.
My heart was broken today for a small community, and we'll need your prayers to get us through this.
Coming up on 8 News at noon, we're learning new details about the deadliest school shooting in nearly a decade and how local school districts are taking extra steps to keep your child safe.
8 News starts now with breaking news.
Thanks for joining us for 8 News at noon. I'm Delaney Hall. We begin with new developments on the deadly school shooting in Uvalde, Texas, the second deadliest school shooting in American history. 19 children and 2 teachers gunned down just days before their summer break. Morgan Norwood has more from Texas.